Howdy, 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 my name's Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. So today we're going to be doing 2 episodes, and this episode's going to start with the carriage grubs, which sounds like it's going to be uncomfortable, especially since I'm recording this at 12 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to be going to sleep after this, so let's hope this one's not too terrifying. Well, it's Euclid, and it looks like a dragonfly with no wings. So, all SCP-366 specimens, regardless of stage, are to be stored in a Level 4 Biological Hazard Freezing Unit at Biological Research Site 66. Cryopreservation is to be achieved through freezing in liquid nitrogen at constant temperature of negative 196 degrees Celsius to prevent activation. Due to the diminutive nature... I probably said that wrong. Diminutive, there we go. Nature of 366 OVA, these specimens are to be stored in a near-vacuum Class 3 biosafety cabinet to avoid accidental dispersion, in addition to cryopreservation as outlined above. All specimens and infested hosts are only to be handled by authorized personnel wearing Level A hazmat suits with scuba, or skibby, and all personnel involved in the handling of 366 are to be scanned by MRI for possible infestation before entering and after exiting containment facilities. If an infestation is detected, specific procedures are to be followed depending on the sex of the host. Males are to be detained and subjected to a dual inguinal orchiectomy by resident level 3 or higher medical staff. I don't know what that is. Let's find out what that is. If that's even a thing that I can Google. Inguinal orchiectomy, also called orchidectomy, is a specific method of orchiectomy whereby one or both... Oh, okay. So, all medical staff offal is to be disposed of according to the HAS-B in 142B protocol. A secondary scan for infestation is to be performed after recovery and quarantine to verify the success of the procedure and to rule out residential infestation. Females found to have suffered infestation are to be likewise detained and placed in quarantine under medical observation 24 hours per day until such time as an ABE of 366 event occurs. Should signs of an imminent ABE 366 event be detected, the host is to be sedated using benzodiazepines. The dosage is to be determined by the resident head of medical staff. And what is this, so I can just call it a normal word if it comes up again? It is benzos. So for now on, if I ever need to say it again, they're benzos. The host's quarantine cell is then to be evacuated of all personnel. Due to the dangers of hearing loss, immediate containment of 366 specimens exiting the host body is essential. Hearing loss? Post-event, both the host and any affected personnel are to be screened for continued infestation and treated accordingly. If no such infestation is detected and the host survived, Class A amnestics may be administered and the host need no longer be detained. No special social reintegration procedures apply. Okay, so that means if males are infected, they have to have their testicles removed. But if females are infested, they just sort of go with it. As locations where SCP-366 OVA are deposited shift if sealed off permanently, containment of these areas focuses on detection, quarantine of hosts, and containment of specimens. If celestial events known to trigger the appearance of 366 OVA can be foreseen, sites are to be closed down temporarily. If need be, OVA may be harvested for research, and all other situations OVA are to be allowed to expire before sites are declared open again. If infestation is detected outside of Foundation control, hosts are to be detained and subjected to stipulations above. The procedures outlined above are then to be applied to locations linked to these cases. Critical infestations occurring outside of the Foundation control warrant a full quarantine of all individuals in contact with the deceased. If necessary, temporary research and detainment sites are to be established around large-scale hot zones. Description: 366 refers to a human endoparasite of unknown, possibly extraterrestrial origin that starts its life cycle in the ovum stage. There's Project Heimdall again! What is Project Heimdall? That is the second time that 2 entries have been connected by something, this time Project Heimdall. What is Project Heimdall and why does it keep happening? Let me open that in a separate link, we'll get back to it. In a male host, ova can develop into a larval stage. In a female host, larval stage specimens may transition to the adult stage. Larvae introduced to male hosts and ova introduced to female hosts live at most 3 hours before expiring due to a lack of the hormones necessary for their further development. Attempts to cultivate infestations in other organisms have not yielded any results, with 366 specimens of any stage expiring as expected when outside a human host. Ova measure approximately 1 micrometer in diameter and have never been recovered unfertilized. When encountered outside of a host, ova are dormant, with the embryo in a developmental stasis. Larvae measure between 0.1 to 0.2 micrometers and display physical characteristics of the larvae. Oclertatos cantato. I'm going to Google it, and I'm going to regret it, but I feel like it might be dragonfly. Is it a dragonfly? Nope, it is the brown salt marsh mosquito. Yeah. Anyway, despite this resemblance, research has indicated no DNA matches with that species nor any of its family. Adult 366 specimens resemble the larvae of Tenebrio molitor, although they are significantly larger. Again, this resemblance is superficial only, so what are those? They are mealworms? Huh. I've never heard of that before, and I hope to never see it. Ever. Upon introduction of 366 ova to a male host via inhalation or ingestion, specimens travel through the body to settle in the testes. An ovum stage specimen monitors its host testosterone levels for between 27 to 32 days. After that period of time, any significant increase in testosterone over the usual levels will trigger a transition to larval stage. 366 larvae lie dormant in the testes, waiting to be transmitted to a female host. Symptoms that male hosts may display at this time include muscle pains, fevers, and a small amount of blood in the host's urine. Larvae developed in male hosts are transmitted to female hosts through ejaculation. If ejaculation does not occur, larval stage specimens will remain in the host system indefinitely, waiting to be transferred to a female host. Lifespan has not yet been established for these larvae. 366 infestation in female hosts occurs after unprotected copulation with infested males, so, use protection. Larvae transmitted in this manner attach to the lining of the uterus and feed on the host's output of 17 beta estradiol? I know it's related to estrogen, I just don't know what that specific terminology is. An infestation with adult specimens produces symptoms resembling pregnancy, which may include nausea, a swelling of the abdominal area, light blood loss in the stool or vaginal fluids, and abdominal cramps. During this gestation period, the 366 specimen present in the uterus will display ovophagous behavior, with the larger and stronger specimens killing and assimilating weaker ones. This process continues until only one specimen survives. After 3 to 6 weeks, the remaining adult specimen leaves the host in an ABE 366 event. Specimens birthed in this manner will take flight through unknown means and attempt to gain access to open sky. If successful, specimens will ascend towards the redacted system at an average rate of 114 kilometers per hour. Research using tracking devices attached to the birth specimens has yielded little result, with signals lost in the vicinity of redacted. Specimens prevented from reaching the open sky will produce a sustained high-pitched sound at approximately 101 decibels. An infestation is designated critical if abnormally elevated levels of 17B estradiol in males cause larval stage specimens to develop into adult stage prematurely. These cases are invariably fatal to the host, as large numbers of immature adult stage specimens leave the host body in an abrupt mass exodus. There was only one recorded critical infestation amongst infested males in Foundation custody. 366 ovum stage specimens can be found exclusively in the state of Massachusetts, always at exposed locations known locally for adolescent sexual activity. Certain celestial events such as meteor showers may trigger the descent of 366 ova. The amount of ova deposited during these events ranges from approximately 1.000 to 10.000, depending on the activity at the location. The exact origin of the ova remains untraceable at this point. Addendum 1. It was so beautiful, man. It's me, the rain, the night sky, and all those falling stars. Host deceased. Okay, so it sounds like what 366 is if you're a teenager and there's shooting stars, and you go out to Massachusetts to see these shooting stars, and you find a really nice hill called Makeout Creek or something, and everybody's doing the do, and it's awesome, and you lay down and you get ready to be with your girlfriend. 366. Don't do 366, use protection. Anyway, moving on. What the hell is Project Heimdall? Long is what Project Heimdall is. So we're gonna add that to the list of things to someday go back to and then never remember to actually do it. And get out of here. If it comes up a third time, if Project Heimdall comes up a third time, we will definitely do Project Heimdall as soon as possible. But for now, it's time for Little Dog. What are you, Little Dog? Well, it's Euclid, and it's adorable! Look at it! It's probably some sort of wolfhound in disguise. SCP's 367's containment area is to be checked daily for damage done by 367. Any and all damage in containment area is to be repaired immediately. Should damage exceed that which can be repaired in a 12-hour period, 366 is to be moved to a temporary containment area and kept under constant observation while repairs are made. Any attempts by it to damage or escape containment are to be immediately met with chemical suppression attack or suppression tactic A11, CST A11. It's the same thing. Why abbreviate it if it's already been said? Anyway, every 2 hours, 367 is to be provided with 1 kilogram of feed, which may be composed of any available biomatter. In the event that no suitable biomass is available, other items may be provided for consumption, and CST A11 is to be placed on standby in case of rejection behavior by 367. 367 is to be weighed after each feeding period to monitor weight and density increase leading up to division. Division? Additional instances of 367 forming in containment are to be disposed of. No unprotected interaction with 367 is to be undertaken unless it is within 30 minutes of a feeding period. 367 may not be removed from the containment area without approval by Site Command. No instances of it are to be released to staff for any purpose other than testing. Okay. SCP-367 appears to be a small dog of variable breed, most often appearing as a small brown puppy. Look at its little face! It exhibits a slightly elevated appetite and activity level for a dog of its apparent age and size, and does not sleep, but otherwise behaves as expected. Wait. Is this a fucking gremlin? It sounds like it's a gremlin. Anyway, 367 is a massive single-celled organism composed of what appears to be a mass of yellow slime, with several white threads suspended in it, with a semi-solid sphere of gray material in the center. I almost remembered the name of that goo that destroys the world, but I forgot again. Deemed the nucleus. It's unknown what 367 is made of, or why its outer shell appears to be a juvenile dog. However, testing data expunged further investigation. The strings appear to function as the muscular skeletal system, and under most circumstances, the movement and general behavior of 367 are indistinguishable from a normal dog. It is capable of feeding on any solid matter and has shown the ability to dissolve and digest concrete, steel, titanium, carbon fiber, bone, wood, data expunge. Probably humans. So, when presented with an item that cannot fit into the external shell's mouth or be broken down with the teeth, 367 will project pseudopodia from its internal mass and break down the matter into a consumable form. It is unknown how this occurs, as no acid is used, but it appears to be a disruption of the basic atomic bonds of the matter, which is still under investigation. So, don't go near it when it wants to eat. SCP-367 does not increase in size when consuming items, but does increase in density. In addition, it does not produce any waste. After consuming enough material to double its starting mass, it will find an isolated location, such as in a cabinet or under furniture, and liquefy its outer shell. It will then divide into 2 equal masses and reform its outer shell, creating 2 instances of itself. If it is left without food for more than 3 hours, the internal strings will project from the eyes and mouth areas of 367 and attempt to bore into and break down all near matter. In this state, it is highly aggressive and has been observed to data expunged, but which is probably eat everything. Anyway, notes on recovery. 367 was recovered from the residential home of Miss Mira Bancroft in Ireland. Miss Bancroft was reported missing several days before, and Foundation staff established containment of her residence when it was reported that she had over 80 small dogs in her home, which had consumed her corpse and most of the home. A single instance of 367 was recovered with all others instances eliminated via CST A11. Ongoing monitoring is in effect to isolate any remaining 367 outside of containment. So, 80. Oh, excuse me, over 80 of nucleus that looks like that. So on the one hand, look at its little face. And now imagine that little face opening and threads of nucleus spreading out and eating little old ladies. 367, y'all, 367. Anyway, paper crane. I'm fully expecting this one to be Keter just because of how weird little dog was. Oh, thank God. It's actually, at a rare moment of inactivity. Does it do crane things or does it eat people? 368 has not yet warranted any need for containment. Okay. Though it has the movement patterns and behavior common to a normal bird. Okay. Neither it nor any of its copies, see addendum, have shown any desire to migrate from the offices in which they are stored. Sounds lovely. SCP-368 is an animate origami crane folded in from ornate heavy stock paper. Left to its own devices, it will perch, preen, fly from platform to platform, groom, and occasionally construct a makeshift nest out of nearby office supplies. I really want to see what happens if one of these things picks up a stapler. That would be hilarious. It responds to human touch affectionately, much as a domesticated bird would. The item's demeanor is, on the whole, friendly, and it has been observed to perch on the shoulders of various SCP personnel. That is adorable, and much, much better than the last two creatures. Though the item needs no source of nourishment, it appears to sleep at night in places that its head, in that it places its head under its wing. Studying the physical properties of 368 has proven difficult. The item seems to interpret attempts to capture or contain it as a game, and has displayed considerable agility and resourcefulness in evading even the most focused attempts at containment. How 368 stays airborne and maintains its stability while airborne is still not known. I mean, I feel like there's a very easy way to study that. Just make some cranes and throw them and see how it goes. Anyway, 368 was discovered in an office building in blank Japan in 1900-something, blank, now employed as 141158. A former employee at the aforementioned building found the item in the closet full of office supplies. Upon discovery of 368, 141158 managed to gain its trust in order to move it to a more secure location. Psychological evaluations of 141158 indicated her to be of sufficient mental stability and acuity to warrant a position within the organization. Cross SCP warnings. It is recommended that 368 be isolated from 529 and 530, as contact will almost certainly alarm all three SCPs. I want to check what they are, but at my current pace we'll be there in a couple of weeks. Addendum 022. On blank 2000-something, while housed in Research Sector 15, 368 began displaying unusual behavior. Instead of its normal routine of human interaction, grooming, and play, it began hovering over a photocopier serial number blankety blank, flattening itself whenever SCP personnel approached. Dr. Blank 1914-25, placed 368 into the photocopier and made a copy, upon which another sheet of paper of identical pattern but different hue emerged from the copier and promptly folded itself into a shape mimicking that of the original. 368 and the new specimen, referred to as 368 Alpha? I feel like it's supposed to just be a lowercase a, but it looks wrong. Resumed usual behavior. Since then, 368 has displayed similar behavior at intervals varying between 2 and 4 years, while the copies have shown no such behavior. Though initially Overseer O. Blank disallowed any employee from aiding in the reproduction of 368, and Dr. Blank was reprimanded for his action, remarkably high employee morale at Research Sector 15 led to the introduction of the progeny of 368 at further SCP facilities. So, I recognize that it's safe right now, and it acts like an adorable bird, but I feel like someday there's going to be an update to this entry, and it's going to be Euclid, and they will have tried to take over the world, because what better threat can there be than hundreds of thousands of paper cuts from thick Asian paper cranes? Probably plenty, but no one expects the Crane Inquisition. Next up is the Living Migratory Roadwork. It's Euclid though, so that's fine. It's also a not very long entry, is it? SCP-369 is to be monitored by time-lapse camera feed to be reviewed for anomalous behavior every 24 hours. Motion-sensitive perimeter alert devices should be placed at the borders of 369 each time it relocates, with at least 3 level 1 personnel nearby to behave as a semi-active construction crew when under observation. Personnel are to avoid directly observing 369. I just realized it's 369, the goose drank wine, monkey chewed tobacco on the streetcar line, when no other potential observers are present, though indirect viewing through video or even mirrors has no effect, allowing 369 to continue as normal. Under no circumstances should actual construction work be attempted on it, nor should the equipment around it be used. Upon loss of contact with 369 when its task is finished, site monitoring should be repackaged and ready for transit to a new location. Once 24 hours have passed, all roads within 75 kilometers, 46.6 miles, should be examined for construction work not matching work schedules of the regional government. Only paved roads are to be examined, beginning with sections of road with comparatively lower usage. So what is it? 369 is a migratory road construction zone which repairs stretches of road left untended by repair crews. It generates non-functional lookalikes of several essential road construction vehicles, of note being a small steamroller and an earth mover, the latter being anything from a bobcat to a backhoe. Those don't sound real, but I'm not a construction worker, so they're probably useful. The traffic cones present at the border of the effect are actual traffic cones, lacking any serial number or manufacturer's mark, and always appear to have been in use for at least a few years. If removed from the site, the cones vanish when unobserved. The machines cannot be used or maintained, and testing has shown it unwise to try. The repair process takes up to 4 days, as the road undergoes a semi-organic healing process when not directly observed, resulting in mundane yet professional quality patches made to the pavement. No special properties have been observed in the stretches of road already visited by 369. They resume weathering and wearing down as any normal road would as soon as 369 is not present. Tests with construction on and attempted disruption of 369 resulted every time with the subject being covered in liquid tar and data expunged until the bone and inorganic heart materials were ejected onto the roadside. Effect seems limited to paved United States roadways, and no line repainting is done. Attempts by Level 2 research staff to redirect 369 to specific roadwork locations has been so far unsuccessful, though some progress has been made in trying to identify potential targets in advance. I just want to say that, like many of the data expunges that happen in the 300s, it's pretty clear that it was probably steamrolled and then tossed into probably one of these things like the bobcat or the backhoe, which still sound fake, but they also sound deadly. Next up is a key. And then what's the key? What? What? All this crazy shit, and the thing that's called a key is Keter? Why is the key Keter? What the hell is it? Okay, time to find out. SCP-370 is an exceedingly contagious mimetic infection. Oh. The only known non-contagious photo of its final stage. Well, good thing it's non-contagious, because it would be really, really careless to just put that there, right next to the words exceedingly contagious mimetic infection! So, no cases of personnel being infected simply from reading this article have yet been recorded, but nonetheless, as a precaution, this document may only be read in a controlled environment with mechanisms in place to terminate the reader at the first symptoms. Lovely. Spreading any information about 370 by word of mouth is grounds for immediate termination. SCP-370 itself is embedded in a small slab of solid lead and kept inside a solid steel box with no openings and 0.5 meter thick walls. Under no circumstances is 370 to be removed from either this box or the lead slab. If it becomes partially or completely exposed, blindfolded personnel will be assigned to locate it with a metal detector. An electromagnet will then be used to transfer 370 to a small mold filled with molten lead. Once this is hardened, the lead slab containing 370 will be returned to its steel box, and the box returned to its containment vault. This box is kept in a specially designated vault at Site Blank. 370 requires no maintenance whatsoever, no research is authorized. Desire to open this vault to perform research on 370 or for any other reason is a symptom of 370 infection. Any personnel displaying this or any other symptoms must be quarantined immediately and terminated if symptoms persist. 370's vulnerability status is unknown. No testing of this sort has been carried out, and no future testing is authorized due to the extreme risk of contagion to personnel involved. D-Class personnel with significant violent or sadistic tendencies are to be preferred in all interactions with 370, or potentially 370 contagious data. All live broadcasting capability will be removed from any Foundation site that shows signs of 370 presence and restored 1 year after the last event. Any personnel assigned to 370 who show a sudden improvement in overall well-being should be quarantined and deprived of sleep. If any personnel continue to display happiness symptoms despite this measure, termination will be authorized. Description: SCP-370 is a key. The size, shape, material, and general appearance of 370 are unknown. Knowledge of these characteristics is the primary vector for the spread of 370 disease. Therefore, all records thought to contain such information have been destroyed without review. The disease caused by 370 has 3 distinct sets of symptoms, designations 370A, B, and C. The form of the disease appearing in any given subject appears to be determined primarily by personality. SCP-370A manifests most frequently in subjects characterized by their peers as self-centered or cowardly. It is the most common manifestation. Subjects suffering from 370A show no symptoms upon the initial infection. However, these subjects will soon commit suicide as soon as they have an opportunity to do so with minimal suffering. For example, 370A victims will jump from high ledges or shoot themselves in the head with firearms, but will not cut their wrists or hang themselves. The instant the subject's heart ceases to beat, the infected corpse will glow brilliantly and undergo an unknown transformation. Detailed knowledge of the transformation is a vector for the infection, as is direct visual contact with the light produced. No trace of any part of a subject's course has ever been recovered following this transformation. The majority of SCP-370-B subjects are commonly described as both extroverted and altruistic. However, an identical manifestation of B appears in individuals with strong sadistic or violent tendencies. Subjects infected with B initially become very calm. This stage lasts for several seconds and is followed by a sudden unprovoked assault on anyone within the subject's reach, which continues into an indiscriminate killing spree. Persons killed by the infected subject will glow brightly and undergo an unknown transformation, presumably the same or similar to that of the suicides. Initially, the infected subject is no more dangerous than an ordinary violent human. However, after approximately killing 2 to 3 victims, the subject's body will begin to radiate yellow light. This light appears to inhibit the sympathetic nervous response of the subject's victims, making it difficult for victims to fight back. After approximately 5 to 6 successful kills, the light triples in intensity and the direct skin-to-skin contact with the subject becomes deadly. At this point, any eye contact with the victim becomes a contagious factor. After killing an average of 12 victims, subjects who were considered violent prior to infection may require as many as 50 kills to reach this stage. The subject will abruptly cease hostilities and enter the final phase of B infection. Subject will raise its arm skyward and shout in a slightly amplified voice, "Blank, take me home." This sound seems to pass through soundproof walls and industrial-strength earmuffs with only slight muffling. Infection of all human beings within earshot is virtually guaranteed, except in cases of sensory deafness. After this cry, a shaft of radiation in the visible spectrum forms around the subject, who will then levitate several feet above the ground before redacted and vanishing. As with A, no traces of the vanished objects have ever been found. SCP-370-C manifests in subjects of high IQ and analytical or contemplative personality type, and is the most dangerous of the 3 manifestations. Unfortunately, the majority of the Foundation's research staff are susceptible to C. Upon initial infection, subjects will close their eyes and remain voluntarily still and silent for an average of 30 seconds. If questioned on this, subjects will claim to have been praying. Any infected subjects detected at this stage must be terminated immediately and by any means necessary. After the initial infection, subjects will behave as normal, but with significant increase in sense of well-being. This system persists even when the subject is forced into unpleasant conditions. Infected subjects seem to possess 370 contagious knowledge about the appearance and exact nature of 370, whether or not they have ever been exposed to such information. Subjects will actively and covertly attempt to spread 370 infection, specifically targeting victims likely to manifest 370A or C. These efforts are likely to include, but not limited to, mentioning 370 contagious information in casual conversation, attempting to have 370 removed from containment for research or attempted disposal, adding 370 vectors to Foundation research notes or other documents, including this page, attempting to broadcast infectious material on a large scale. After about 50 successful infections, C enters its final phase. During this phase, the air around the subject radiates a small amount of light in the visible spectrum, creating a faint yellow glow around the subject. This glow induces a parasympathetic calming response in viewers and has a blank % chance of causing infection for every minute of visual contact. Within about a day of this radiation appearing regardless of any further successful attempts, a flaming data expunged burn marks on any surface it touched, or passing through or leaving no trace of the infected subject. This event leaves behind an invisible patch of contagious space which infects anyone who passes through. Patches seem to fade in approximately 7 days, but as a precaution should be avoided for a full 2 weeks. It has become apparent that SCP-370-C infection is being used by some personnel as an excuse to torment and murder fellow Foundation staff. Personnel responsible have been demoted to D class. However, considering the enormous threat posed by C, the containment protocol above will not be revised. Addendum A. The circumstances of 370's original retrieval are unknown. It was found in the ruins of Site Blank, a remote Foundation base in Eastern Blank. These containment protocols in their original form and the described steel box were found in a sealed vault along with a single corpse, identified as Dr. Blank, a known Satanist, and the doctor's personal log, which was found to be 370 contagious. The rest of the site was abandoned and no other dead bodies were found, although signs of a struggle were ubiquitous. The rest of the site's stored data on 370 had been erased or destroyed, although a few useful notes on other SCPs were recovered, particularly SCP Blank. Several infection events occurred during recovery efforts. These were contained with extreme prejudice and the infection was believed extinct. 370 was briefly designated safe. However, in light of recent data expunged, Keter designation has been restored and anti-memetic security has been tightened throughout all Foundation sites. Addendum 370-B. Dr. Blank's log has been successfully purged of memetic infectiousness and is cleared for viewing by authorized personnel. The same precautions described for reading this article also apply to the log. Oh, it's a whole thing. Okay. Richard's team came back yesterday. What was left of it anyway. Most of them were wiped out by some sort of memetic infection. They brought back an artifact, a key or something from the dig. There's something wrong with Richard. He ought to be inconsolable having lost so many agents, but he just keeps smiling. Meanwhile, work on SCP Blank has ground to a depressing halt. The next battery of tests involve irrelevant data expunged. Ha! I was right! I knew there was something abnormal about those smiles. They brought the artifact out today. Half the people who saw the damn thing just started attacking everyone and Site had to be put down. The survivors have been in quarantine, the bodies of the dead have been incinerated, and the survivors are still in quarantine. The artifact recovered has been designated 370. I hate observational memetic hazards, by the way. How am I supposed to study something if I can't fucking look at it? That's probably what he said. Or maybe can't even. I don't even know what. I don't know. I can't imagine why whatever that word is. It probably wasn't fucking if it's blocked out like that. His name is blocked out too. Data absent. Blank. It's not observational, it's worse. Probably the worst meme we've ever encountered. Reading the notes on the thing seemed to have exactly the same effect as looking at it. It's pure luck I didn't get infected myself. Word of mouth information transfer does the same thing. We got a full third of our research staff in quarantine now, or at least we should. Some of them have just disappeared. I'm freaking out here. I did a compassion ritual yesterday, made me feel a little better. Details of ritual expunged. Seeing Richard in this state is really messing with my head. He's not himself at all. He's freakishly cheerful, borderline manic, and he's tried to breach the quarantine 3 times already. He managed to cause several infections by shouting what I assume were details about 370's appearance. Like, I don't even know what information can spread this thing. I personally destroyed a bunch of documents without review earlier today and at anyone who protested quarantine. Dr. Blank says I'm being paranoid, so I quarantined him too. Well, I've solved the mystery of the disappearing personnel. Some of the infected commit suicide, and when they do, they vanish with this blinding flash. I've caught maybe the very edge of the flash? I'm afraid I'm contaminated now. I can feel the key hovering around the edges of my mind. If I wanted to, I think I can see it in my head. Ugh. I started to write up with a contamination procedure for if we ever contain the thing. Helps me keep my mind off, well, it. There are 3 kinds of infections, the murdering kind, the suicidal kind, and the happy kind. Suicides and murderers don't actively try to spread the infection, but deaths caused by 370 all seem to create this infectious light. The happy ones seem mentally unaffected, but their only desire is to spread this thing by any means necessary. Clever though. They'll pretend not to be affected. The only giveaway is the happiness. Even if you torture them, they show signs of pain, but don't seem to care. It doesn't make them unhappy. On the bright side, I had a talk with Dr. Blank via a Class D go-between, and he told me to go blank myself, so I have let him go. We've lost our grip on this thing. Richard and team are still contained, but we have the Smilers wandering free in the base. I've taken to carrying a handgun and just shooting anyone who looks happy. Considering how haggard and miserable most of our staff is, there's not much chance of a false positive. I'll sabotage all the communication systems. We will stop this thing here. The infection in me feels like it's spreading, so I need to take a conscious effort not to think about that. There is no God. I am God. There is no God. Quarantine had been breached. I'm afraid Dr. Blank and I may be the only unaffected personnel on the site at this point. He's only safe because he was in that quarantine cell for so long. Knowledge is starting to slip. I know things, Meme expunged. Not know what 370 looks like, but I know Meme expunged. There is no gate. I worship only myself. It sounds like he's the B one. From this point on, the writing gets more and more shaky. Some parts appear illegible and large segments had to be removed due to memetic contamination. Satan used to just be a symbol to me, a symbol of my own unrepressed desires, a symbol of freedom. I've changed my mind. I've pledged, data Meme expunged. I preferred another ritual, not in the book, just one that came to me. I had to use Dr. something redacted. Felt a bit bad about that at first, but it's all for the Foundation. I have a plan. Meme expunged until all the infected of Meme expunged should provide an opening for me to make contact Meme expunged. If I can get the physical key encased within the molten lead for my experiment with SCP blank, then Meme expunged until the rest of the Foundation finds us. I think I'll stick it in a huge blank steel box too, you know, just in case. Notes. The final entry is written in blood and begins with an outline of a complex and gruesome ritual involving, among other things, the use of 80% of the invoker's blood. Intended purpose of this ritual is unknown, and our attempts to recreate it have all failed with the subjects falling dead from blood loss before completing the procedure. Details expunged. Okay. Again, written in blood, positively identified as Dr. Blanks. What have I done? My memory is shaky, not surprising considering what I've been doing to my mind for the past few days. The containment must have been successful as I find myself sealed in with 370 in this book. Good. The effects of the ritual are beginning to wear off. Feeling extremely woozy, consciousness fading. What have I done? Ultimate selfishness or ultimate sacrifice? Or just ultimate pettiness and spite? I must apologize to Richard. Oh right, Richard, the guy from the very beginning. Forgot all about that dude. Also, that was weird. So, a key. And, yeah. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke. This is episode, I think, 89 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the next episode, we're going to start with Macrovirus and go to Forever Alone. I wonder if if it's going to be what it sounds like it's going to be, or if it's just being cheeky. In any case, if you liked it, a like and subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.